Hi, welcome everyone. We're in week 2 and we're going through the book, Life, Let It Flow Effortlessly, How Being Genuine Creates Real Value. So I appreciate you guys coming back to this. And for those of you that don't have your books yet, don't worry about it. We're going to go through this at a pace where you can come back and look at things, but stay with us in the conversation, and then you can follow through with the readings and the journaling time. Think of this as a spiral. You're going to be going around and around and around, getting to more of the center of you. That's why they talk about, life being an onion. We're peeling back layers, but really we're on a journey really to get you back to the center of who you were created to be, you being you effortlessly, not only in life, but in business. So life effortlessly, business effortlessly. So that may mean a job, it may mean what you're doing for money making activities. It may mean that you're looking at a career change or whatever, or starting a business. So doesn't matter what it is, but life effortlessly and business effortlessly, right? That's what we're focusing on. So today we're going to be starting into the section on how are you, and that's on page 5. So we're going to go through this this weekly part here that I'm going to do. I'm going to break it into 3 small snippets, so that way you can kind of focus in on different areas, be able to get it and understand it, do some journaling, reflecting on it. Come back to it, rewatch it if you need to. It's more important what's inspired in you. So I might say something that's going to have you write something completely different down, or I might say something that's going to have someone's name pop into your heart. Honor those promptings. Those inspirations are what is magical, and that is what moves us to connect and to open doors, and to have people who are ready to open doors for you be able to be available for you. So never step over that. So it's not about what I'm saying. It's not about it being new. It doesn't have to be new. It just needs to be realized and acted upon in this present moment, because this is all we have. So as we get started in how are you section, remember we began everything with my daughter's 3-year-old quote to me, when she was 3 years old. Mom, you have your life and I have mine. So think about that for a minute. You have your life and I have mine. And if we really understand what that means in an ownership standpoint, is there's no condition and nothing holding you back except for you. And that's what we're going to explore a little bit here as we go into the how are you section. So this first video is going to cover basically the material that's from page 7 to page 15. And then I'll break it into another video for the next pieces that follow. Some of this I'm going to read to be able to get the context of it, and then be able to then expand into conversation here. So hope that doesn't bother any of you all. So one of the ways I look at this question is, when somebody says, how are you? A lot of times it's a reflected quote that we're so used to responding like fine, or okay, or whatever, and we kind of bat it away. So think about this, like, so really, how are you? And let that land for a minute. Like, how are you really? And if we can be honest in this moment, some people are not so good and some people are fantastic. It really doesn't matter which way it is, but I just really want you to let it land. Like, so really, how are you? It's a different feeling, isn't it? So just want you to get comfortable with mentoring yourself, being able to stop the madness, stop the sequence, and being able to come back and ask that question. You can look yourself in the mirror and you can say your name and you can say, how are you? It's really good to be able to work with yourself and affirm with yourself, like, create affirmations and things. Tell yourself that you love yourself, even though I know that sounds kind of weird. It's not narcissist and egotist. It's basically very needed. You need more love and appreciation coming from yourself to yourself. And that's really the inspiration for this work. So when we look at that, one of the things that came to my mind is a really common quote. Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or can't, you are right. Don't live our life trying to be right a lot of times. So it doesn't matter whether you think you can or whether you think you can't. You are right for you in this moment. Doesn't mean you can't change it, but just remember, you're going to set the tone by feeling that righteousness, that rightness for yourself, right? So you can switch this back and forth either way. And so when I hear people tell me things about why they can't this or that, I'm like, you're right. That's perfectly true. And for someone sitting next to them, they're telling me why they can do something, and they're right also. And either one of them could flip positions, but they're so locked into their thinking that sometimes, as Henry Ford states, they're going to be right. They're going to get the results that they already believe they will. And so it's really important to have yourself do a check-in. So this is a lot about having a conversation with yourself, having an ability to hear what's in the subconscious mind and be able to actually work with that. So let's see here. I've I've realized as I've been out and about, I'm an extroverted person. We've got some things where in some of our groups, we offer up, for you to take different assessments. Those are important because I need you to know about you. So the 5 love languages, the 16 personalities, Gallup Strengths Finders gives you your top 34, all of your 34 strengths, and then you can look at your top 5 and you can look at your bottom 5, and we can help you to figure out your activities. But one of the things I realize is that because I'm an extroverted person, it's very easy for me to be able to meet people. Part of my strengths is, being able to connect with people really quickly. They call that in the Gallup Strengths Finder, winning others over. And so it's hard for people sometimes to realize, why would someone like me, a perfect stranger, want to help someone like them? They feel like there's an agenda behind it because we've been manipulated too much by people who are passionate and move people into a selling process way too quickly. So it's really sad if you think about it. It's like we can't just be genuinely happy and helpful to people without them being suspicious, because that's what we've trained over time, is that, that shouldn't happen from strangers, right? Well, let me ask you a question. Sometimes the people closest to us are not the ones that are helping us, right? So if we're telling people that you can't work with strangers because you got to be worried about them, and the ones closest to you are always trying to kind of keep you the same, and we'll talk about the crab bucket here in a minute. Isn't it interesting how we can keep ourselves paralyzed? So you see how this can all work to pull you down to less than you were created to be. And so that's really what we're going to explore here. Change is scary, so stay with me for a moment, but we'll make it safe for you. And each person can figure out their own way of doing this in a way that's going to honor who they are in their personalities, their love languages, and their strengths. And then when you do that, when you honor those unique things that are giving you, like, basically the fingerprint of yourself, you're unique. You're the only one that's that way. And so we want to be able to make sure that this is uniquely for you. So another area that I wanted to highlight here is this is a simple process. The life process that I've got in this book is a simple process. It's easy to overlook it. And so what I wanted to make sure is it's not something that we do that's so magnificent. It's what we become in the process. So this is a development, transformational process. Much like if you had a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, once it becomes that butterfly, it doesn't go back into the cocoon and try to become the caterpillar ever again. So you're going to be forever changed. Understand that. This simple process of awareness, if you talk to anyone who does any kind of counseling or social work or anything like that, awareness is the first step, right? So we're making you aware of the things that maybe you've settled for or you've believed as solid facts, right? Those may not be true. And we're looking to see what we want to create. So we need to come back and see what kind of belief would I need to have in order to be able to create that kind of result, right? But even though it's simple, doesn't mean it's not powerful. It's very much transformational, and that's where you'll be forever changed in a positive way. So I wanted to help you also understand how to kind of contain this information or use it to your best ability. If you just read this book, it's not going to be able, I've got some facts on page 9. It's not going to be able to, be something that's going to be worthy in your mind. You're only going to probably retain about 10% of it. But what happens is when you actually take it in, like in a nursing process or a military process, when they're actually teaching people how to teach others, they will do things like where I will teach you, then we will, or I'll basically do the presentation, then you'll do it with me, so you'll be involved in it. So first you're watching it, next you're being involved with it, and then you're doing it with my oversight, and I'm helping you to make sure if you've missed critical steps or to help to celebrate what it was you felt about the process and that kind of thing. So it's, I know in the nursing world, I think I heard it as see one, do one, teach one. See, do, teach. It's just a process of really working with the material. And the same is true for this book, because what's going to happen if you just read it, it's going to go in and out. You're going to maybe get 10% of it that you actually have access to. And the longer you're away from using it or reinforcing anything in it, taking action on any of the wisdom, even if it's simple, even if it's repeated, even if it's reminded, it's only going to impact you in a very small sense. So the more that you will actually work with it, involve others with it, which is why it's good when we do this in a group format, right? Because we're getting other people to comment and be a part of the conversation in the private Facebook groups that go around this material. And then the other thing is that you start to be able to do something. You could do this weekly. You could do this now. As you learn something here, turn around and then share it, teach it, use your book, use your story, use my story, and then teach it to another, because that's going to anchor it into someone else. And that ripple effect is going to go out into far-reaching places. There's a lot of people who've never had a mentor. There's a lot of people that don't think anybody is there helping them become a leader. And we're disproving that, because this is available for everyone. You know, if someone could buy the book, you know, off of Amazon on a Kindle or a paperback for less than $20, you know, they can have mentorship. They can have a leader help them to get to the next level. And that's what's nice about this, is that's why I wanted to do it in the easiest format to pass along. But the bigger power comes when you take what I have and pass it along in your own unique way. Now we have everyone having access to becoming really who they are and living a life effortlessly, and having work where they do money-making activities, creating business and making money effortlessly. Can you imagine what would happen if we had people feeling in that way, where they were feeling more served and better off to be able to do things like that? That would be an amazing place. And that's what we're trying to create. So I found that people can do unlimited things if they believe they can. And that's really, you know, that's a key piece. I've got a list of foundational beliefs, and I wanted just to read these here so I could have them in the recording for you, just to consider and hear them. I know you're going to be able to read them yourself, but these are things that I would like you to consider adopting and living by. These are just suggestions. You can create your own. That would be better. But for now, let's at least put these out here. Think about these and think about whether or not you could receive them and actually live them out, put action behind them. I am priceless and my life has purpose. I can help others celebrate their wins without diminishing any of my own possibilities. I live in abundance. That's a really big one. No economy is predicting your lack of abundance, so I live in abundance. Adopting a business owner mindset will help me be at my best at work. Now, I did this when I had a job, when I was full-time employed, but I had that business owner mindset, and that's what got me job increases, promotions, and got me new jobs to be able to scale up in my career fairly quickly. So adopting a business owner mindset will help me be the best at my work. I am in business for myself, not by myself. That's really key. It doesn't matter if you're in a traditional business or a network marketing business or direct sales, you are not in business alone. No one gets anywhere alone. We have vendors and supporting people and employees and strategic partners and things like that. We have all kinds of people there. No one gets there alone. So I am in business for myself, not by myself. Relationships help me reach my potential. So relationships are how I reach the potential I have. My fulfillment is accelerated by the positive choices I make. People everywhere will help my inspired vision. My results reflect my current level of knowledge and effectiveness, and both can be improved. So my knowledge and my effectiveness can be improved, and that's going to basically predict the level of my result. My experiences matter. They make me stronger and wiser. Doesn't matter if they're good or bad. They make me stronger and wiser. There will be setbacks, and only I can quit on my success. Failure is an attitude. I can reach my goals faster than I've ever imagined. There is enough time for everything I want to do. That's a really big one. There's enough time for everything I want to do. You can bend time. I've had time where I'm not able to get to the appointment in the time frame with the drive and the traffic and all that. I just stopped telling myself I was out of time, and I stopped telling myself I was going to be late. And I said, I have all the time in the world, and I'm going to get there safely. I'm going to have plenty of time. And I got to the appointment with minutes to spare when I knew that there was no way physically to get to that place with the traffic and the time. Something happened. I just started creating that I was going to get there safely with time to spare, and that's what happened. It's really weird when you start playing with this stuff. So try it out and tell me and comment in our group and let me know how in the world it's working for you. I am responsible and accountable for my own life. That's a tough one. If I'm responsible and accountable for my whole life, then I can't blame anything on anyone else or any outside source. I'm responsible and accountable for my life. I always have a choice. I can succeed. right? So those are just some good statements to start with. There's some things that were inspired for me to give you that platform there, but please, think about making your own. Create some statements, put them in places where you can see them, by your bed, on your mirror, in your car, in your purse, in your wallet, wherever you're going to see it, by your money, where you're going to do things, by your credit card, that kind of thing, right? And then that way it's going to interrupt you and have you, correct and continue, correct and continue. It's one of the best things you can do is to actually create and speak your life into existence. So here's where we really start. I believe in you. I really do. I believe in you. That's my whole mission, is to help you to see that I believe in you. Will you? Right? And if you'll start really saying that, I believe in you, say it to yourself in the mirror, be one with you, actually be your best friend, be your coach, your mentor, like be the one that's your champion, right? Get on board with being sold out to what you're capable of. And then tell yourself, I believe in you. And really mean it. Say it until it really lands out of your belly button, not up in your throat or, whispering behind your nose. I believe in you. And then receive that coming back from you. And if you need to be emotional about it, that's okay too. That's just waking you up, helping you to feel that there's something magical about you. It's in each one of you. Every single person has it. No one was missed. And we all need to discover that and honor that and value that. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? So let's see here. All right, so I'm over here on page 12. For us to get the greatest value out of our time, I invite you to commit to writing in a notebook. And the reason for this is there's something magical. You can certainly type it on your computer, but for me, I see that there's a connection between my mind, my heart, and my hand when I'm writing. So mind, heart, and hand are kind of all together. And when I'm writing things out in my own chicken scratch, it may not be able to be easily read, but in being able to have that connection, this flowing coming through and through my hand, there's something about it that helps anchor the memory. I can see and sense that I'm doing something. I've got it there. I'm writing it. I'm looking at it. I'm reading it back inside of my subconscious. It's really important, even if you've not journaled very much. I wasn't a really good, consistent journaling person, but I do find that when I write things down and I reflect on the material and I have to come back later or I can look at it later, it's great to see the progress on where you are and where you've come from and how far you've made it. Come back and look at that from the future and be able to celebrate that you're really doing well. You're doing a great job. And the minute that you can put yourself back in it again, you're going to progress some more. So don't ever beat yourself up on what you can't do or how you aren't. But I do recommend that along with the book itself, you're going to be reading in it. There's a question, there's a dialogue. It's like a conversation with a mentor, with me. And you're going to be answering questions with you. And we're going to have you work with yourself. And that's going to be facilitate a lot easier if you'll have a journal and you'll write in that notebook. So let's talk about why you are where you are. Because often where you are is a place you've gotten to and accepted based on thinking that isn't completely true. That's limiting and negativity you can free yourself from as soon as you're aware that it exists. Remember I talked about awareness is the first key. Sometimes we don't realize we locked ourselves into a limited thinking or a limited being, limited space. And I know that it can seem really simple, but it's not whether or not this information is new to you that matters. What matters most is that you're open to the wisdom and ready to take action to apply this to help you realize success now. Because if you don't act on it, it won't have a chance to ever impact your life. And that's one of the parts of our life process, as you're going to see this as we unveil that here in the book. But acting on correct knowledge after you've taken and made a decision, you've got to make sure that the belief has been checked. If I believe the world is flat, I act in a certain way. I decide certain decisions and my actions are going to be different if I believe the world is flat versus believing that it's round. And I know that's kind of a silly, example, but it's really dramatic. And if you think about that, and there was a lot of time where people thought and believed that the world was flat. There's even people that are returning to think that it's flat, which is very interesting. But what happens is that makes decisions. Beliefs are what is the foundation that we make decisions upon. And when we decide, we cut away other options and we focus in on something and we put action on that. It may not be working in our best behavior or best result if we're not checking the belief originally, okay? So that's it for the video number 1 here of week 2. And you know, if you need some time to go back and get caught up and read and do some journaling things, you can take that break here. But I'm going to go ahead. I'll create video number 2 for week 2 here in just a few minutes. Have a great one.